The Devil once again appeared on AEW Dynamite last night, and for the first time we heard the voice, at least the laugh, of the person behind the mask. It's led to some fans speculating they now know the identity of the person behind the mask. We'll let you know who that potentially could be. The Continental Classic kicked off last night on AEW Dynamite with the Gold League matches taking place. We'll let you know the results of that. Plus, MJF versus Samoa Joe is now confirmed for the AEW World's End pay-per-view for the AEW World Championship in December. Adam Copeland hits a concerto on Nick Wayne in front of his very mother last night on Dynamite. Was the blood-drinking spot between Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page at Full Gear actually planned out? We'll let you know about that. Danhausen makes his return last night on AEW Dynamite. A Ring of Honor match after AEW Dynamite was stopped due to an apparent concussion. We'll let you know who possibly suffered that. Ronda Rousey's Ring of Honor debut is officially announced. We've got the ratings for Tuesday's episode of NXT on USA Network. Collision is going to be going head-to-head with Survivor Series, as well as AEW Rampage joining that AEW block of programming. Plus, we'll let you know about one AEW talent that could be nearing an in-ring return. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's start off talking about the Devil. They made their presence felt once again last night on Dynamite, and maybe, just maybe, we've got the closest glimpse into who is the person behind the mystery mask on Dynamite. The Devil has once again made their presence known on AEW Dynamite. They interrupted MJF after the world champion had some words to say. In the Dynamite After Full Gear, Better Than You Bebe came out to talk about their respective injury situations following his successful title defenses on Saturday. Friedman then addressed his remaining problems moving forward, one being the man in the devil mask. He confronted the man in the mask, threatening him. The AEW World Champion mentioned that he would do all he could to unmask him, and once he found out his identity, all hell would be let loose. But moments after he spoke those words, the man in the mask made his presence known, appeared on the big screen, and simply laughed at MJF. This would be the first time we've actually heard a peep out of the person wearing the mystery mask. We can actually show you the footage of this, and it's led to some people thinking they know who this mystery individual is. Now, does that laugh sound familiar to you? Well, it did to some people, certainly, because some people are speculating, and spoilers ahead, if you want to skip forward and don't want to know who potentially the individual behind the devil mask could be, you can skip ahead. We'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, of course, the person in the devil mask has not yet been revealed. Their identity has not been revealed, but some people think it sounded quite similar to none other than Jack Perry. Now, some people, as I mentioned, have suggested that the laugh sounded similar to the recently suspended AEW star. However, some people are saying it could just be a red herring. But most fans on social media certainly strongly believed that the laugh sounded like Jack Perry. Many fans compared this to other potential suspects such as Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, or even CM Punk, but none fit the bill. Now, some were speculating on social media that if indeed Jack Perry was the person who was behind the devil mask, that might be a major letdown considering the great build-up and anticipation the story has had thus far. Some people have suggested that maybe, again, it's a red herring and it's just a case of trying to possibly steer people away from actually the real identity. Of course, we haven't seen Jack Perry on AEW programming since his match on the 0 hour of AEW All In, where he lost the FTW Championship against Hook. Of course, the match was probably more noteworthy for the spot in which there was real glass used on the windshield of a car. This then led to an altercation with CM Punk backstage that resulted not only in Jack Perry being suspended, but also CM Punk being fired with cause from AEW. So the question becomes, do you agree with what people are saying on social media? Do you think that actually the person behind the mask is Jack Perry? Do you think that his laugh sounded familiar? Or is this a case of AEW trying to steer people off in a different direction? Let me know your thoughts about that. And what would your reaction be if indeed Jack Perry is revealed to be the person wearing the devil mask? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, last night's Dynamite saw the beginning of the Continental Classic Tournament, and we can get into the results and also the standings as well. The AEW Continental Classic is officially underway, and 3 men from the Gold League earned themselves 3 points each after emerging victorious on Wednesday's edition of AEW Dynamite. Now, the first match involved Swerve Strickland coming off his impressive Texas Deathmatch victory at Full Gear this past weekend. During the opening match of the show, Swerve Strickland defeated Jay Lethal after hitting a swerve stomp off the top rope. Sonjay Dutt, Satnam Singh, Jeff Jarrett and Karen Jarrett, as well as Strickland's Mogul Embassy stablemates, were nowhere to be found at ringside per the tournament rule that everyone except for the competitors is barred from ringside, so Strickland gained 3 points there. The next match involved Switchblade Jay White against LFI's Rouge. Now, LFI's Rouge came up short against Switchblade Jay White as the latter redeemed himself after coming up short against MJF for the AEW World Championship at Full Gear this past weekend. Rouge found himself on the receiving end of a low blow and a Blade Runner from the Bullet Club Gold leader as White gets off the board when it comes to his victory in this tournament. The third and final match was the main event of the evening, and it was Jon Moxley facing off against Mark Briscoe. To close out the show, Jon Moxley scored his 3 points when he landed a pair of Death Riders on Mark Briscoe. Much like White, Moxley's win comes in light of a Full Gear loss against the international champion Orange Cassidy, with the title having been on the line at Full Gear. The Continental Classic will continue this Saturday during AEW's taping of Rampage and AEW Collision, with members of the Blue League facing off against one another. We can actually get the scoreboard for the Gold League up on the screen right there. So as you can see, as a result of the results last night and the outcomes last night on AEW Dynamite, the Gold League is as follows right now, with Jon Moxley on 3 points, Swerve Strickland also on 3 points, Rouge, Mark Briscoe and Jay Lethal currently sitting on 0 after their defeats, and Switchblade Jay White with 3 points after his victory over Rouge as well. Now, as I mentioned, when it does come to the Continental Classic, when it does come to this tournament, I mentioned the next round of matches are the Blue League that's going to be taking place on AEW Collision this weekend. But Bryan Danielson was actually omitted from this weekend's event, suggesting that maybe he's not cleared to compete just yet. Last night on Dynamite, the AEW Continental Classic kicked off with the big matches in the Gold League, with 2 Blue League set for this Saturday. Now, of course, that's the big Collision and Rampage taping that's going head-to-head with Survivor Series. We'll let you know about that in a bit more time, but there'll be 2 Blue League matches as I mentioned, but neither will feature Bryan Danielson. Daniel Garcia, who on commentary referred to as an underdog of the tournament, will face off against Claudio Castagnoli, whereas Brody King will face off against Eddie Kingston. Now, this is notable because 3 matches from the Gold League were on Dynamite last night, but it will mean that only 2 matches from the Blue League will be taking place on Collision, which means there may have to be some catch-up somewhere to even things out, rather than simply having 3 matches on each show. Now, it's always possible that Bryan Danielson versus Andrade El Idolo will be announced between now and Saturday, but it definitely wasn't mentioned during Dynamite last night, as the 2 other matches were, which implies it won't be happening. Of course, we get any more details as to when Bryan Danielson's match against Andrade El Idolo is supposed to be taking place. We'll let you know. But what are your thoughts on the beginning of the Continental Classic, and who do you think is going to go all the way and win the tournament and win that Triple Crown Championship? Now, speaking of the Continental Classic, of course, we know the final is going to be taking place at World's End. We also now know the AEW World Championship match is going to be taking place on the show. MJF has unpaid debts, and Samoa Joe came to Chicago to collect. On Dynamite, Samoa Joe reminded AEW World Champion MJF that he only backed up the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champion in his match against the Guns at Full Gear because he was promised a rematch for MJF's title. The former Ring of Honor World Television Champion goaded the champion into offering a title match on that very Dynamite, but Joe felt that MJF should be 100%, and if he wasn't 100%, he wanted to give the champion time to heal up. Thus, the 2 will face off at the AEW World's End on Long Island in New York on December 30. Now, MJF is still nursing a sore body after he was attacked by the Guns at Full Gear, which led to a brief hospitalization before MJF hijacked an ambulance and wrestled a whole title match. In reality, MJF has actually suffered a hip injury, and he's most likely not going to be wrestling until the pay-per-view, but he's not expected to miss any television time. Now, Joe recently relinquished the ROH TV title in hopes of narrowing his focus on MJF's world title. MJF is currently one half of the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion with Adam Cole, but he lacks a partner that can physically wrestle, as Cole is recovering from surgery to repair an injured ankle, in which Cole suffered this said injury against in the match which pitted MJF and Samoa Joe against each other in their initial world title match at AEW Dynamite Grand Slam in New York. Now, on Dynamite last night, we also saw a concerto in front of a family member as I guess the patriarchy and family squabbles continue. Now, Christian Cage's saga with the Wayne family took a deeply uncomfortable turn on Wednesday. On AEW Dynamite, in a segment that also featured the AEW TNT champion rechristening Luchasaurus as Killswitch, Cage declared that Nick Wayne was his golden boy and the son Cage always wanted, angering Wayne's mother. She stormed to the ring where she was nearly hit with a concerto, only to be saved by Adam Copeland. Wayne's mother's relief quickly turned into regret when Copeland not only hit her son with a vicious spear, but also a concerto, with both Wayne's mother and his surrogate father, Christian Cage, looking on in horror as the WWE Hall of Famer unleashed his anger on Wayne. Copeland is fresh off a victory over Cage, Wayne, and the newly minted Killswitch at AEW Full Gear, where he teamed with Sting and Darby Allin to defeat the Dastardly Trio. Copeland signed with AEW in October following the expiration of his contract with WWE. Now, we spoke earlier on about Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland, and a lot of people are still talking about this spot at Full Gear that saw Hangman Page drink the blood and spit it out of Strickland during their Texas death match. Now, Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland captured the attention of the AEW audience and the wider social media audience at Full Gear during their Texas death match. One particular spot that got a lot of attention, for better or for worse, was Hangman Page drinking Swerve's blood, then spitting it out. It's led to many questions as to whether or not the spot was planned and or approved. Now, Fightful Select are reporting they can confirm that the day following AEW Full Gear, Fightful was informed that the spot was planned and pitched by the participants and was approved by the match producer. Fightful are also told that people within AEW were very happy how the match was received and executed, so it wasn't either competitor going off script or anything like that. Now, Danhausen is back on AEW television. Danhausen is officially back just before he joined forces with Katsuyori Shibata and Hook to face Daddy Magic Matt Menard, Coolhan Ange Angelo Parker, and Jake Hager in trios action on Wednesday's edition of Dynamite. Orange Cassidy declared he had a Thanksgiving surprise for the Chicago crowd. The very nice, very evil one that made his way down to the ring to a warm reception to be in the corner of the reigning international champion and his teammates, helping them pick up the victory by grabbing the attention of Hager. Cassidy and Danhausen are no strangers to one another, having been aligned for quite some time along with the best friends. The pair have previously tagged with one another on a number of occasions dating back to AEW Full Gear last year. Danhausen's return had been teased in a video on the October 6th episode of Rampage, with him further creating buzz when he took to his social media earlier this month. He had been out of action since March after he sustained a torn pectoral muscle during a four-way match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship back at AEW Revolution, so Danhausen is back. Now, after Dynamite last night, there was a Ring of Honor television taping, and a match at the taping had to be brought to an end by a referee due to one of the participants getting injured. Now, again, these tapings took place on November 22nd, directly after Dynamite at the Wintrust Arena in Chicago, Illinois. At the taping, Christopher Daniels and Matt Sydal teamed up to take on the duo of Griff Garrison and Cole Carter. During the match, as reported by PW Insider, Sydal hit a twisting splash on Carter, but landed on the young star's face, quote, smashing the back of his head into the canvas. PW Insider notes that, quote, Daniels and the referee realized something was wrong and called the ringside doc. The doctor, Doc Sampson, would look over Carter and the match would end by referee stoppage. The report notes that Carter was able to walk out of the ring, but it took a long time for him to do so. Although there hasn't been any official diagnosis, it's been reported that Carter, quote, apparently suffered a concussion. The Chicago crowd gave Cole Carter a round of applause when Daniel took to the mic, putting Carter over. He would go on to say that they wanted to win tonight, though not in that manner. Daniels would also remind fans not to try this at home due to the danger inherent in what happens inside of a pro wrestling ring. Now, speaking of Ring of Honor, Ronda Rousey, her Ring of Honor debut has now been officially announced. Many wrestling fans, of course, were shocked to see former SmackDown and Raw Women's Champion Ronda Rousey make a surprise appearance during the AEW Collision and Ring of Honor television taping on November 17. There had been questions regarding when this Ring of Honor match would air with the UFC Hall of Famer. Yesterday, Ring of Honor announced that Ronda Rousey will team with Marina Shafir to face Ring of Honor Women's World Champion Athena and Billie Starkz on the November 23rd edition of the show, Ring of Honor TV on Honor Club. That's today. This will mark Ronda Rousey's Ring of Honor debut, and this is a rematch of the Wrestling Revolver Unreal event from November 16. The Wrestling Revolver match went to a no contest after Athena blasted Rousey with the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship bout. During the AEW Full Gear post-show press conference, AEW President Tony Khan confirms that Ronda Rousey has not been signed by AEW or Ring of Honor, but he would love to have her come back. So that's going to be taking place tonight on Ring of Honor television. Now, let's talk about the ratings for WWE NXT this past Tuesday on USA Network. This week's NXT may have been another leg in the journey to NXT Deadline on December 9, but a chunk of fans seemingly opted out of this week's proceedings. WrestleNomics is reporting that NXT was watched by 622,000 viewers on Tuesday, with 246,000 coming in the 18 to 49 demographic. This represents a 12% drop in overall viewership and a 10% drop in the 18 to 49 viewership when compared to last week's episode. The highest rated segment in the overall demographic was the end of the opening contest between Noam Dar and Chad Gable, which saw Dar narrowly escape Gable's clutches with the NXT Heritage Cup. The lowest rated segment for the overall demographic was the match between Eddie Thorpe and Charlie Dempsey. For the 18 to 49 demo, fans tuned in the most for the end match between Carmelo Hayes and Josh Briggs, which saw Lexis King cost Hayes a spot in the Iron Survivor Challenge at NXT Deadline. The lowest rated segment for the demographic was the beginning of the show. The show, of course, was pre-taped last week as NXT talent have the week off due to Thanksgiving. The news comes after NXT has been on something of a ratings tear following cameos from main roster talent such as former NXT Women's Champion Becky Lynch, the Judgment Day's Rhea Ripley, neither of whom were on this week's show, and North American Champion Dominic Mysterio. NXT, of course, is in the final year of its time on USA Network, as it will be moving to the CW once its media rights deal with the NBC Universal Network expires next year. Now, it's Survivor Series this weekend, and AEW is going to be going head-to-head with another WWE PLE, and it's probably not going to be good for AEW. All Elite Wrestling has gone head-to-head with WWE on several occasions in 2023, whether it be NXT and AEW Dynamite airing at the same time, or AEW Collision moving nights. This has become a regular occurrence as of late. The ratings for AEW Collision has been one of the biggest casualties for the company this year, with the Saturday show regularly being opposed by WWE's premium live events. The November 25 episode of Collision was set to be the latest to go head-to-head with a major WWE show, but it looks like another AEW show will be joining the battle. Per Fightful's Sean Ross Sapp, AEW Rampage will be moving from Friday, November 24 to Saturday, November 25 at 10 p.m. Eastern, following AEW Collision opposite Survivor Series. Now, most likely this is due to, obviously, Thanksgiving week, but also as well the NHL hosting games on TNT on Friday during that time slot. Therefore, it made more sense to move it to Collision this weekend. Finally, a bit of an update when it comes to Mark Quen, and good news when it comes to his in-ring return. The last time we saw Mark Quen of Private Party was last November in a loss to Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal. Unfortunately, he's been out of action for nearly a full year, which led Isaiah Cassidy to team up with the likes of the Hardys and Ethan Page. Even then, Cassidy has only worked a couple of dozen matches during that period himself. Now, Fightful are told that Cassidy was backstage at a recent AEW show, and AEW was hopeful he could return sooner rather than later. Quen sustained a shoulder injury and had been in a sling for quite some time. It's worth noting that even if he is cleared, Fightful aren't sure if there's any creative plans if they're in place. There have been situations like Thunder Rosa recently where talent have been ready to return to the ring and they're just awaiting creative. So obviously if we get more details on Mark Quen's return to the ring, we'll let you know. But there you go, guys. This latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.